my God, the DNC thing has started. 4 days of Democrats trying to tell themselves, we're gonna win. It looks sad already. Part of the reason it looks so sad is because, like, they had this montage in the beginning of Joe Biden in stills and people endorsing him, and it's just like, it's so fake, right? You got Beto O'Rourke, Pete Buttigieg. I mean, really? Beta? You put him up like he was a big endorsement? The guy lost. And then he lost again. He didn't get really much of any traction. The only thing he'll be famous for is the guy who stood up during the Democratic debate saying, yeah, we will take your guns away. Or AR-15s away. Proving that he doesn't know anything about guns. And proving that, well, as Razorfist said, you know, exposing their entire hustle. But Joe Biden is one of the most anti-gun politicians in history, so it's no surprise that he would allow that guy front and center. Buttigieg's endorsement kind of means something. He, in my mind, was still probably the best candidate the Democrats could have run. I think he would have lost anyway, but I think he would have been a very dignified loss. He would have lost, but it would have been like, wow, the first gay president nominee, and there would have been some excitement behind that. And I think he could stand up to Trump much better than Biden. Much better. I mean, Biden just looks tired. And that stupid interview with Cardi B didn't do anything for him. Kamala Harris didn't do anything for him. There's nothing you could do for him except let him to retire with dignity. Not put him through this. Biden has a long history of doing stupid things. Saying stupid things and doing stupid things. When he was at the height of his game in the 80s, he blatantly lied. And I remember that. I didn't remember that until I saw the footage again from the 80s. I remember wanting to endorse Biden back in the 80s and saying, oh, he sounds like a cool guy. You know, middle-class Joe. I bought into his image. And then I remember seeing the news story where they exposed him as a fraud. Like he had gone to, and this is like, you know, 1980s. This is pre-internet, but they caught him on tape saying that he had 3 degrees, which wasn't true. He only had 1. And then there was another incident where he plagiarized the speech. And I was just like, wow. And I didn't remember that part of it until much later. And I was like, geez. And people have forgotten about all that. And that was something in the 80s. That was like a big deal, kind of, in the 80s. Like, oh, man, Biden, oof, bad form, dude. I mean, now, I mean, compared to all the other stuff that goes around, like, that's barely a blip on the radar, but he just shouldn't have run. And the mere fact that Obama won't come out and excitedly endorse him tells you a lot. You know, I said the other day, behind the scenes, you know, Biden's known as kind of an F-up. Why would you nominate him? And this tired convention that's half online and half in the real, it's so confusing. It's like, where's this happening? Why is this happening? Do you really think you can make this look like something? I don't. I mean, I was going to think about doing a live stream or, you know, play some of it and make some snarky comments, but quite frankly, after watching 5 minutes of it, I got so bored, I'm like, ugh. Who are these people? Like, all the people appearing in it, I didn't know. Although Eva Longoria is the host, and she's like on a set. You know, conventions are supposed to be, and I know they can't have the real convention, but it's supposed to be like in an auditorium with a bunch of people. And I guess they couldn't figure out how to do that and social distance and wear a mask. But you'd think they could just tell everybody, hey, I mean, the DNC probably has the money to do this, and so does the RNC. Okay, if you want to come to this convention, you got to show up 2 weeks ahead of time. We're going to test you for beer virus, and then you got to stay in quarantine the entire time until we tape the convention. Like, I think people would be willing to do that to be in the convention. I really do. I think the delegates would. Now, maybe some of them couldn't do it. Those could stay home. But I think you could fill up an auditorium with loyal followers of either party if you did that. But I think the Democrats don't want to do it at all. I think they're happy that the beer virus gives them an excuse not to be in one place, because I think they're worried that their own followers will protest, namely the extreme left and Antifa, because they've been promising to burn down Milwaukee for a while. It's going to be interesting to see if they try to do that. I assume some of the events are taking place in Milwaukee still. I've been to Milwaukee a bunch of times because Gen Con used to be held there. It's a great town, but it's very little. Surprisingly small for a city. You know, you hear Milwaukee and you think, oh, it's probably a pretty decent-sized city. It doesn't feel big when you're there. And in fact, the convention center, where they also held Gen Con, I think they built a new one since, you know, was big-ish, but it wasn't like, wow, that's a big building. It was like more like, it's a pretty big building. And there were some restaurants around it, but there wasn't enough. And I remember being in one of the restaurants, and one of the waiters said to me something like, yeah, this is the only time, I only work this week as a waiter, and I kind of make all my money. And I was like, what? You make that much money in like a week? He's like, no, the convention's only 4 days. But you make so much money, you want to do it. And I'm like, okay, that sounds interesting. Greatest restaurant, one of the greatest restaurants, the coolest restaurant, I should say, also exists in Milwaukee, which is called the Spy House. And it's this cool restaurant with a spy theme. And to get in, you get to this door, and there's a bouncer, and there's cameras and stuff, and you walk in, and it's a post office. And then there's a secret passage, and you have to know the password, right? So if you get in and you say the password, the secret passage opens up, and then it opens up into the restaurant. So it's really cool. And then you get inside the restaurant, and it's all spy themed. So it's got spy movie posters and, you know, clocks from different times all over the world. And then you can take the secret exit out, where you go into a phone booth, you ask the waitress for the code, and you dial a certain number, and then a secret passage opens, and you go out the back. It's really cool. I think there's one other spy thing there, too. But there's a big map with all the lights on it, like the missiles are coming or something. And the food's pretty good. It was decent. But the place would be mobbed during Gen Con. You could only go, you know, we'd show up to promote games and stuff, so we would get there, I think, a day ahead of time. So we could go to the Spy House that day, before most of the fans got there. It wasn't too bad. But, you know, during the convention, oh, you couldn't get near the place. So much fun, though. So much fun. I don't want to see the Spy House burn down, Antifa, so leave the Spy House alone. Leave Milwaukee alone. In fact, leave everyone alone. Maybe just stop. I mean, these guys are kind of on your side. You know, I don't want to see anybody get hurt. And as much as I disagree with the Democratic Party, especially in its current form, I would rather you not burn things to the ground as you promised in the Project Veritas videos, the secret ones where they taped the Bernie supporters, where they were saying, burn, Milwaukee, burn. This was, of course, before the virus, so I think they were expecting a normal convention. But I don't think this convention's going to help them. I think, you know, it's just going to be, the fact that it's 4 days kind of makes it worse. You know, I could barely stomach 5 minutes of it. I can't imagine 4 days watching this stuff. you know, watching people virtue signal endlessly. And that's what it's sounding like to me, because, you know, the moment diversity was mentioned, I was like, oh boy, here we go. Oh, we're so diverse. We're so wonderful. We're so diverse. That's not what people want to hear. You know, diversity is, what is it? It's just people of different races and colors and creeds. It's already in the United States. We already have that. You know, just because you've dragged a few people into your Democratic club and push them on stage and say, see how diverse we are? We have all these different kinds of people. Doesn't mean anything. People want to hear what kind of policies you have. People want to hear how you're going to solve problems in the United States. How, you know, and not that you're going to raise taxes to give everybody free health care and free college and free this and free that. You know, the people who don't pay taxes, who are so poor, yeah, they'll benefit. But everybody else would have to pay for it. You know, we have a governor here. He wants to borrow $9.9 billion to shore up the budget shortfall this year. Yet the reason he has a budget shortfall is because he's allowing businesses to die and people are fleeing the state, and that's the tax base. So your only choice is to encourage the tax base by opening things up and saying, oh no, open businesses here, or you got to cut back. Instead, he's hired 1,500 or so contact tracers and wants to hire like another 1,500 and they're useless, in my view. So these are the kinds of solutions Democrats have. Oh, we'll spend more money. We'll spend more money on you. And when we run out of money, we'll just borrow it. And you'll pay it later. Oh, if we can't get it that way, we'll just go to the federal government. They'll bail us out. That's all our money. So what are they doing? That's not a solution. The solution is, well, I'll just get you to pay for it. Or I'll get you to pay for it in a different way. Or I'll get you to pay for it in a completely different way. It's just basically bribing people who don't pay much taxes. And most of those people, sadly, don't vote. I mean, the people who vote are the people who are motivated. They tend to be older. They tend to be more conservative, at least leaning. So, you know, Biden's just toast this election. And this convention probably ain't going to do much. What he needs is to go into the debate and do something. What are the chances of that?